Well, so much has been happening since the PPP civic government entered office, and Guyana seems to be going back to where we were over the past 23 years. It's quite serious what is happening, and it is time that we arrest this creeping tentacles of dictatorship, the sacking of government workers who are professionals working under the previous government, the APNU AFC coalition, and the PPP went into office, and in less than 2 weeks, they're sending letters to staff. In fact, Christopher Jones, former director of sports, was sacked, so to speak, was sacked by the new Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports, and I understand that in sacking Jones, they would have moved to appoint what is a political appointee under the guise of Lyndon Kashif Mohammed, aka Gregory Charles, of the former Kashif and Shanghai Football Organization. And so we are seeing things happening in the early stages of this government being in office, albeit, in my opinion, illegally. And therefore, the opposition should not recognize the PPP civic government as a legitimate government. And so we must move in the direction to apply pressure, serious pressure, while they are in office to ensure that we don't go back to that 23 years of dictatorship, of grave things that happened to a nation, the violence, the drug economy, the underworld economy, the lawlessness, murders, and the violation of people's human rights, and so on. And therefore, I am saying to the Guyanese people today that we must not be silent. When we allow, when we allow criminals posing as leaders of the nation to, at the early stages of assuming office, when we allow them to do what they want to do, the immoral things that they have begun doing, the wrong things that they have begun doing, and if we remain silent, if we remain silent, we are complicit. We are complicit, and so we have to go on the offensive. We have to go on the offensive. Under the coalition, the 5 years that the coalition was in office, we saw decency. We saw peace restored. We saw people going about their lives in a safe way. There was security. People were protected. They were allowed to move around, free from fear. And today, what we are seeing in the days that the PPP government entered office, we are seeing political appointees, friends of the de facto president of Guyana, Bahar Jagdeo, and the so-called de jure president, Irfan Ali, and I refuse to refer to him as Dr. Irfan Ali. We haven't sorted out those academic qualifications yet, as you know, and so on. But we're seeing people with questionable character being put in positions, ministerial positions, and so on. And this program will be interviewing members of the opposition and human rights fighters in Guyana and young people in different areas from different disciplines in our society. It will be a very straight talking program. We will also ensure that we carry footages for people to see what we're discussing. We're not just going to be sitting talking. We will be doing the video. So when we interview someone to ask who would they like to see be the leader of the opposition in this new dispensation, we must be able to throw up footages to show people saying to the cameras that, recordings of people saying to the cameras that this is who they believe should be in the opposition as leader, and so on and so on. And so, in this little discourse, in this brief discourse, I want to say to the Guyanese people and to black people in particular, if we allow this government in the early stages, in the very early stages, to do what they want to do, as if the government belongs to them and not to the people, as if they're not working on the mandate of the people. If we see a rapist or a child molester being placed in a position, we must speak out. We must protest. We must say this government is not a government of one section of society. It's not a government of itself. It is a government of all Guyana. And that we must hold it accountable. We must hold it accountable. And the voice of the diaspora will ensure that we do and work assiduously to expose these criminals that have entered office, in my opinion, illegally, fraudulently. And we know that we're perched to be going back into that 23 years of devastation and the destruction of the nation, the lawlessness that transpired under the leadership of Mr. Jagdeo and the leadership of Mr. Ramatar and all that went with it. These same officials have gone back into office. Those who have been accused of threatening persons in society, death threats, and so on. And those who have been accused of killing activists, those who have been accused of soliciting sex for minors. And these are the people who have been reappointed to ministerial positions because Mr. Jagdeo, the de facto president, operating under the position of vice president, and we know he is the one who's calling the shots. And this is the formation not of a legitimate government, but of a lawless group of people who once again seize power to continue along that corrupt road that Guyana had moved away from over the past 5 years under the leadership and presidency of David Arthur Granger. And so I want to say to you that the program is on its way to being completely ready to do live interviews. I want to urge all of you, young people, political opposition politicians, and all of you out there who are willing to be a voice in Guyana at this crucial juncture, to get a Skype account, to get a Zoom account, and so we can begin to speak to the world and to people at home about what is happening so early in Guyana. I forgot over the past 5 years about drug trafficking, and yesterday it was so shameful when people called me and said, look, millions of millions of US dollars worth of drugs were landed, I think, in Germany en route to Poland. What is happening? What is happening? Who is again allowing this after the coalition government would have put a stop to that? What is going to happen after? What do we expect? Should we expect the murders on the streets again? People being killed because of their involvement in the drug world? Is that where we would like to arrive at once again? And I'm saying it, we will not be going back into that world of lawlessness and that world of insecurity and that world of fear. And we, the people, will call upon those who are responsible for holding this government accountable. We will call on them to act now, to be vocal now. Because many people are saying to me at the moment, they're saying, Norman, we need a new leader. We need a young leader. We need a leader with the energy, with the zeal, with the passion, with the courage to fight this monster that has assumed office over a week ago, going to 2 weeks, I think. And I said to them that this has to be a collective decision. But whatever we do not want to see division in the opposition or amongst our or in our constituencies among our people. And we have to be very careful. But we also have to agitate for our leaders to understand in the opposition that they will have to listen to the people and they will have to work with the people. And we have to work in unity to ensure that the proceeds coming from the oil is not squandered. Corruption does not take over government departments and the public service. That extrajudicial killing will not return. That our young people would not be brutalized and tortured. And we have had a taste of peace. We've had a taste of peace. And that was snatched away from us. I think it was on the 2nd of August when the PPP government was declared the winner of the national and regional elections, 2020 national and regional elections. Of course, we understand that there's a petition in the making, and we don't want this government to believe that they're seated comfortably in office. And so in this discourse, I want us to interact, but I want us to be fearless. And anything that happens to our people, that we will stand up. We will not tolerate, we will not entertain what we endured during the 23 years of the PPP's rule. And if we are seeing wrongs happening in the structuring of that government at the moment, and we are accepting it as if the government has a right to make decisions, that those decisions wouldn't affect us, right? We're the character references of persons that are being thrown into government positions. Who vetted them? Is Mr. Jagdeo returning Guyana to the point where people who have been accused of rape and being involved in not nice things, that because the party says that they must get a position, that they must get a position? No, that's not how it works. That is not how it works. That's how the PPP work. And if we begin now to accept those things as if they're okay, the monster will grow and grow and grow, and it will consume us as it had consumed us over the past 23 years under the hegemonic rule of the People's Progressive Party. I understand very clearly that the opposition is in a position where their voice is stifled. Almost every newspaper in Guyana seem to have abandoned the opposition and have become pro PPP mouthpieces. Stabrook News, the Kaichor News, the Guyana Times, and several other television outfits. And I want you to know that as this program develops and the website is up, it's growing at the moment. I want you, the people of Guyana, to know that this can be your mouthpiece. This can be your voice. That your stories would be taken around the world via KTP Voice of the Diaspora, the website, and via Voice of the Diaspora, this program. And we have to begin to build and support each other, because I believe that this is not going to be an easy struggle. It will not be an easy road. And so the struggle continues, and we have powerful men out there, people that I have mentioned before, and I will continue to mention, because they deserve a space in our society, because they are leaders and they are courageous, and they deserve to be promoted, and they deserve to be known, and they deserve to be supported. And men such as Lincoln Lewis, Dr. David Hines, Mark Benshop, Apostle Nigel London, and a whole new group of voices. James Anthony Bunn, my brother and friend, Christopher Jones, Sharma Solomon. I want to mention Sharma, but Sharma's been very quiet. We have New Source, run by Gordon Mosley, which is not only an independent voice, but it's an unbiased voice. And we have to support those people and those entities, because we know that the government will come down strong on them, as they have done in the past. And so I want to say to you that do not be afraid. But do not bow. Do not bow. You've got voices out there. You've got people who would rather die than see you oppressed again. And do not be afraid to report everything that you think should not be happening and is happening in Guyana. Start now. Do not wait for the monster to grow. If you believe someone has been placed in a position that they're not qualified for, speak out. You have a forum here, and you've got other forums in Guyana and other voices. You've got hindsight. See, and you know that Dr. Hines is so very outspoken, and he's an intellectual and an academic and a human rights and African rights fighter. We've got Eric Phillips. We've got people out there who will stand up and who will be a voice and who will carry your words when you can't speak. And so let this struggle recommence. Do not sit down and wait and say it is early days. Every day you are silent and inactive, the monster is growing, it's gaining strength. And it would be very difficult to harness it when we allow it to grow to proportions that are unimaginable and evil. So it's a quick word to you guys out there. I want to say a special good day to the people in New York City and all across America, Guyanese there. And those of you in London, the Isles of the Caribbean, Canada, my good friend Artie Ricknott. We have some very good people over there in Canada. Of course, we got Charandas too. So it's not all good people. But what I'm saying is that the people of Linden, I want to shout out to all of you. I know that you are doing some good work and you have to be prepared for the pressures that will be coming from the PPP. But I'm saying that even though I say we must be prepared to confront it. You understand? Linden has suffered tremendously under the PPP, and we're not going to go back there. We're not going to go back there. And so the people of Linden, the people of Bartica, the people of New Amsterdam, Rosal, Riverton, and all across Georgetown, all across Guyana, we must hold hands, and as black people, we must begin to put aside our differences, whether they're personal or otherwise, because in unity there is strength. And so I'm back. As I said, it's the first time I'm coming on the program in this form. It's still a work in progress. Of course, it has the capacity to interview several people at the same time, live, and the capacity to show footages and a whole host of stuff. It has the capacity to interact with you guys via Facebook and YouTube. And so while we are live having our interview, the people who are tuning in can interact, can ask questions, and those messages can be thrown up on the screen for everybody to see and stylized in beautiful fonts and so on. I'm hoping for a statement from the former director of sports, Christopher Jones, and I'm hoping to bring him on this program so that the diaspora and all of you guys can hear for yourself coming from that very hard-working, humble, and dedicated director of sports, you know, a young man of caliber and good standing, never been in a scandal. These people in the PPP can't stand up shoulder to shoulder with those who were in the coalition over the past 5 years, trying to rebuild Guyana and its image from the destruction that the PPP had brought on it. And yes, and so Christopher Jones was fired by the PPP, by Minister Charles Ramson Jr., I understand, who made that move to place his friend. Of course, we all know that that's his friend. So we're seeing nepotism in place already to give his friend the director of sports position without doing the necessary checks and so on. And I'm not here to congratulate anybody in the PPP, and that includes the Prime Minister and everybody. He's blocked me from his Facebook page, and you know, I'm not afraid. I am at the age now where I understand that death is inevitable and that anything that is inevitable, we know is unavoidable. And so I am going to stand up. I'm going to stand up. I will stand alongside you. We will not bow. I want to say thank you very much for joining me, and send your comments, your recommendations, and so on. And let us make this program the people's program. This will be a voice for the voiceless. This is a voice for the voiceless. This is a voice for the ordinary people on the street. If you sell in Belange on the market and the PPP and the PPP official kicks down your stall, you can call this program and you will have a space. You will have a hearing here. You will have an opportunity to tell the world what they have done to you. All right, one more thing before I go. I want to say to the town council at Linden, I know they say I flack them all the time and so on, but I want to say to the town council, I've been receiving reports that since the government change, you guys are going out there threatening people to break their little stalls down, to remove them from the street, from the road corners, and so on, and so on, and so on. Be careful, desist. Desist. This is not the time for that. All right? And so let us work hand in hand. Let's unite. And let us look out for our people. Let us be our brother's keeper. Thank you very much for joining me here on the Voice of the Diaspora. And of course, you can also visit the website, ktpdiaspora.com. And the next program, I'll put it in the link and do everything that ought to be done so that you guys can see everything as we discuss issues and so on, that you can have a link to it and so on and so on. Yes, so shout out to my friend Lincoln Zephyr, who has been a tremendous support all along to everything that I've been doing. A big shout out to Garfield Snooks Shepherd, and a very big and special shout out also to my good friend Babalu, Mr. Adams of Linden. He's known, he's popular, he's loved by many people, and so I want to say thank you guys for your kind words or whatever support you have given to me through the building of this the people's program, and you know, news source and so on. And I will endeavor to be professional as possible, to be not fearful of exposing wrongs, and to be there for all of us as we begin this new struggle, the struggle to save Guyana and to keep Guyana on the road that it has been going over the last 5 years, that has suddenly come to an end through racist manifestations and greed and wickedness. And let us stand up. Let us stand up. Take good care.